Hey everyone, grab a map of the United States. You've probably seen it countless times. Now, look closer at those state lines. Some are perfectly straight, almost like someone took a ruler and just drew them. But then you zoom in on others, and they're just wild. They squiggle, they jump, they make these bizarre little detours that make absolutely no sense. Seriously, why is America's geography so odd? Why don't our states just follow easy lines? We're talking about invisible boundaries that shape everything from your local laws to your daily commute. And these aren't just lines on a map. They're the result of centuries of forgotten wars, ancient agreements, and sometimes just plain bad surveying. It's a mess, but it's a fascinating mess. Ready to uncover the secrets behind America's most bizarre borders? Let's go! The United States has 50 states, and that means hundreds of borders. At first glance, a lot of them look super simple, especially out west. Think about Colorado or Wyoming. Perfect rectangles. That makes sense, right? Just draw a straight line of latitude or longitude. Easy. But then you get to places like Delaware with its weird, perfect arc, or the whole chaotic jigsaw puzzle that makes up the East Coast. Or even states split in two, like Michigan. These aren't just minor quirks. They represent real communities, real history, and sometimes lingering arguments. These aren't natural features, like mountains or rivers. They're human creations, and their stories are way stranger than you might imagine. To understand this craziness, we need to go back in time, all the way to how borders were even decided in the first place. Let's start with those straight lines. Out west, especially in states formed after the original colonies, straight lines were the go-to. Why? Because they're simple in theory. Surveyors would use lines of latitude and longitude, those imaginary grids that crisscross the globe. It's easy to say the border is the 37th parallel north, or it's 109 degrees west longitude. This made sense in vast, often empty territories. No need to argue over a riverbed or mountain peak, just draw a line. However, simple in theory doesn't always mean simple in practice. Remember, these surveys were done over 100, even 200 years ago, often with basic tools, through rugged terrain, sometimes by people who weren't exactly master cartographers. This is why, if you zoom really close, even some straight borders aren't perfectly straight. They might have a slight wobble here or there, a little jog where a surveyor got tired, or a slight error in calculating true north. For instance, the Kansas-Colorado border isn't perfectly straight. It shifts a bit in places. These tiny imperfections, sometimes just a few hundred feet, created small land disputes decades later. So even the easy straight lines have their own subtle quirks. Okay, so not everything is a straight line. Many states use natural features as borders: rivers, mountain ranges, coastlines. This sounds logical, right? Just follow the river. The Mississippi River alone forms parts of the borders for 10 different states. The Ohio River separates Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois from Kentucky and West Virginia. This seems intuitive, but rivers are tricky. Rivers change. They erode banks. They create oxbow lakes. They shift their course over time. So what happens to the border when the river moves? It gets messy. For example, parts of the Missouri-Kansas border are defined by the Missouri River. But the river has shifted so much that towns originally on one side now find themselves on the other side of the river, but legally still in their original state. This creates islands of one state's territory completely surrounded by another. Imagine the confusion for emergency services or mail delivery. But the truly bizarre borders often come from historical blunders, ancient land grants, and outright disputes. Let's look at Delaware. It has a unique, almost perfectly circular northern border, the 12-mile arc drawn around the city of Newcastle. Why? Back in the 17th century, William Penn, who founded Pennsylvania, also controlled Delaware. He wanted access to the ocean. To avoid giving too much land to Lord Baltimore's Maryland, Penn got a grant for a territory defined by an arc. This was incredibly hard to survey accurately, and it even created a tiny disputed triangle of land known as the Wedge that was claimed by Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland for centuries.
And what about those panhandles? Think Oklahoma, West Virginia, Florida. They're often the result of compromises. Oklahoma's panhandle was originally supposed to be Native American territory that wasn't included in other states. West Virginia's northern panhandle was created to ensure specific railway access and to stay aligned with the Union during the Civil War. These weren't accidents. They were very deliberate, often messy political decisions.
So, why are U.S. state borders so weird? It's not one single reason. It's a complex, fascinating blend of enormous ambition. Early settlers and colonial powers were drawing lines across vast, unexplored wilderness, often from thousands of miles away in Europe, based on vague charters. Imperfect technology. Surveyors did their best with basic tools, leading to slight errors that became permanent quirks. Natural forces. Rivers change course, making fixed natural boundaries anything but fixed. Human conflict and compromise. Wars, territorial disputes, and political horse trading shaped boundaries in unexpected ways, like Michigan's Upper Peninsula or the Toledo Strip. Economic drivers. Access to ports, railways, or specific resources often played a role in how a border was finally drawn. These aren't just abstract lines on a map. They reflect centuries of American history, the triumph and occasional absurdity of human endeavor, and the constant push and pull between nature and civilization. What seemed like a simple, weird map now makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? It just goes to show you, the world is way stranger and more interesting than we often think.